Hi guys, welcome back to another video collaboration with the Creative Design team. This week we are sharing Christmas in July. I'm Julie. Welcome. In my project, I decided to make easy, fanciful cards using this really pretty White Pines paper collection. Now this is a bring back my pack and I loved it then and I love it now. So I'm going to show you quickly here that it's double-sided and it's got really nice colors. So I'm going to concentrate here on the glacier and the toffee, but I'm actually going to use almond for my cards. I'm also going to bring in this copper ore paper, a little copper tinsel, and we're going to have really pretty cards. I'm going to bring in this stamp set right here, and if you're interested in the Cricut Design Space file, it will be linked down below. So you've noticed here that I've cut two, because I figure if I'm going to take the time to do some embossing, I might as well do two in case the first one doesn't turn out, and then if it does, I automatically have another card ready to go. So I'm going to stamp here with my Versamark ink. This is actually an old stamp pad from close to my heart and I actually love it and still have it. So I'm going to use my copper tinsel embossing powder here, and I really liked this color combination. It's a little bit non-traditional if you want, but I really like the way that these turned out. So let's clean off our little image right here, and if you have a little bits that are not where you want them, just kind of clean them off with a brush. And I also use my brush to make sure that I save all of my embossing powder and put that back into the jar. So let's put this away so we don't make a mess, and let's do the embossing right here. I really love watching that transformation when you heat that. So these look really good, and this is where the copper ore looks really good. So don't forget to grab that file down below. So here, this is just a standard size card, so it's an 8.5 by 5.5. You fold it in half, just like so, and I like to use a bone folder. And you'll notice that when I do that, I go from the center up and down just to make sure everything is nice and straight. And then I just fold back on the half again on the front. I just use the bone folder, and there you have a very simple Z fold card or Z fold card. Anyway, so let's put this one together. I did hollow out that copper ore only because it's so great. I want to extend it as much as I can, and I'm going to put all of my pieces right here. So I do put enough glue, not too much, but I do put enough so that it sticks down. I just want to make sure that it's not going to come apart when I put it in the mail. And I like to kind of press it down gently so that everything is nice and secure. So I'm going to add a block, or just you can add anything on top just to weigh it down and make sure that it sticks together. So this little sentiment here, I wanted to give it a little bit more pizzazz, because it is a Christmas card after all. And here you see me using the clear shimmer brush, and if you pick up on the ink inside of your ink pad, it is automatically the same color that you are using. So that's you always have all of the colors available to you, even if you just have this one clear shimmer brush. So I'm going to add a few of those little splatters, and they are all shimmery, so they look really nice. And the last thing I'm going to do here, I'm going to show that to you. So the last thing I'm going to do right here is I'm going to add just a little bit of distressing, and I'm using a blender brush. I find that these, for me anyways, are really nice because I tend to have a heavy hand. So I'm just going all around that little bracket frame, and I'm adding a really nice soft glacier ink distressing all around it, and I just found that it just gave that little bracket a really nice look. So we're just going to add that right in the center of our card. I'm going to glue those two pieces together You can see that I have a little bit of embossing powder on the back side, but that really doesn't matter. I'm going to pop that right on this copper ore piece. And then I'm going to add that right in the center of my card. But before I do that, I just decided to add a tiny little bit of distressing on the edges. Not all of the edges, like just like the corners. And I just found that it kind of completed the card, like it brought everything back to the center sentiment. And when we put it all together, you'll get to see that in a moment. I usually don't add colored distressing on my cards, but this one here, it totally worked, so I went for it. So let's put this guy right on the top. It goes right in the center. So the only thing you have to be mindful of here is not to put glue on the entire piece. And just make sure that when you position that into the center that you don't have like a little bit of glue on the inside. So I'm just going to give it a peek here. Nope. Kind of put my glue in the right spot. I'm going to add a few clear sparkles. And this card is done. So this is a very easy Z-fold card. And it's just done with a standard A2 card. So it comes together very nicely. You can write your sentiment right on the inside. So let's move on to card number 2. And this one here is cut on like the horizontal if you want. So it's 8.5 by 4 1/4. And then you just score that at 5.5. So your front panel is not the full width. Again, I've hollowed this out. I'm going to put this right here on the back side, and then I'm going to add, you can write your sentiment right on the inside here, and then I'm going to add this piece right at the top. I didn't bother hollowing that one out, it wasn't that big. This little piece here on the top is 3 1/4 by 3 1/4, and the copper ore is 3.5 by 3.5. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stamp those little Christmas trees from that same stamp set. And I did bring this one in. Now this one is new with the Bring Back My Pack, and I really liked the script of the Merry Christmas. I'm going to make sure to rub my little piece with my anti-static pouch, and I'm not going to use the little foam in back of this right here, only because when you're using Versamark and embossing powder, it tends to give it a little bit more thickness, so you don't really need to use the little foam at the back. Now I wanted to mimic that same line that was on the original stamp set, so I brought in my embossing pen. I'm using the thin side because they're double-sided, and I'm just going to draw very quickly here a line all around this little square piece, and it really makes a difference. It just really completes this little piece right here at the front. So we're going to, very much like the other ones, we're just going to add a little bit of copper tinsel powder, and we're going to heat emboss this very quickly. And I'm just going to make sure that it's all nice. Sometimes you have to go twice. You just have to make sure that it's all nice and covered. That looks good. So we are going to heat emboss this little piece right here, and you can see that that Merry Christmas is very dainty, and that little frame around it looks really, really nice. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to add a few splatters here with the clear shimmer brush, and by picking up the color from your ink pad, you automatically have all of the colors you need right at your disposal. So we're going to add lots of little shimmery splatters on this piece, and I just find that by adding splatters and ink distressing to like a really basic square, you can totally dress it up, and I really like the way that this one turned out. So I'm not sure about you, but I've been doing a few cards in July, I guess the past 3 years, and they're different. Your mindset is different. You're not creating during, I call it the silly season, and you just get a chance to maybe enjoy them better. So that's why I wanted to share with you fancy fold cards. They're easy, they're not too complicated, but during November, these might be, I don't know, maybe too much work. But for now, the embossing and the fancy fold, I really like the way that it turned out. So here I'm stamping those little trees, and you saw that I did bring that little foam. And the reason why I brought the foam as a little cushion, if you want, is because those images are more solid and it just gives you a better impression. So I did stamp that last one using almond ink, and we're going to put this card together very quickly. So you saw that, yes, I did hollow that out only because I want to keep as much of that copper ore paper as I can because it is so great. So we're going to pop that right on the back of the card right here. And then again, super simple card. It's a 4 1/4 by 8 1/2, and then you score this at the 5 1/2 mark, and then you have a shorter flap at the front. So we're going to cover that up with this second piece of paper. I liked doing these cards because you can introduce a couple of pattern papers and it just really looks nice. So you've got the top here with it's toffee, which is the color right here on this pattern paper with the copper ore, and then you've got the really nice glacier pattern paper right at the back. I also wanted to mention that the Cricut Design Space file, now you can access that bracket if you have Cricut Design Access, of course, or if you have the Artistry cartridge, it's from that collection. So it's just been sized for the stamp that I did use in card number 1. You could totally fussy cut that out, but if you're like me and you'd rather just use your Cricut, that will be there for you down below. So this front panel, when you put it on top, you just have to make sure that you don't add glue past that halfway mark, and it just goes right on top of the card, and I'm leaving equal distance on the right hand side. So I'm just going to put my block on there and let it kind of stick together. And when I was playing with these little trees, I kind of didn't like the little bottom parts. I just decided to snip it off, and I'm just going to try and position them on the front of my card. Now I don't want to hide the embossing line that I did, but you know, now that I'm looking at it, I really didn't like that I didn't connect my lines. So I'm totally going to cheat, and I'm going to place my trees and my bling strategically to kind of hide where they're not connecting on that frame, but that's totally a preference. So the first one went down just with regular glue. I'm going to add the second tree here, and I'm going to add 3D foam tape, but the thin 3D foam tape. So I'm just kind of creating a little bit of layering on the front of the card with the trees and the 3D foam tape. So I'm going to add this one right on top of my score line, and then this one here is going to go right at the bottom. So I just liked kind of playing on the dimension of the card, and also I just wanted to hide that little connection or the non-connection that I did when I was running my embossing pen around that front piece. So we're going to add that right here at the bottom, kind of like the way that they look. And then you can see here that by adding just a little gem right at the corner, so I doubled it up, and it looks like I have a continuous frame. So I kind of like the way that that turned out. Right before finishing off here, I'm going to add, just like the first card, a little bit of distressing on the corners of the card, and there you have it. 2 easy fanciful cards that you can play with, and hopefully you'll be creating a few cards in July to kind of give you a head start on the silly season. So as always, thank you so much for hanging out with me today, and don't forget to come back all week long, and come back to tomorrow. Andrea is going to have a really neat project to share with you. Thank you so much, and have yourself a fantastic day.